All right, it's the half hour mark. We can go ahead and get started here. So thank you for joining our manufacturing learning series. Today we'll be talking about firing up your manufacturing sales and marketing strategy with video. I am Rachel Seco, the VP of Client Delivery here at Lake One. And then I'll let the panel introduce themselves. And Joe, we can start with you.
Sure. Hey, everybody. I'm Joe Kessler, owner of Kessler Productions. We are a Minneapolis-based video production company. We do everything across the board from concept to completion. So if you've got an idea, we can execute it. If you've got no idea, we can create it and execute it as well. We've done the commercial space, the social media space, the corporate video space, worked direct with clients as well as with agencies all across the country and some parts of the world as well. So we like to say best story possible. My background in a lot of keynote and comedy has kind of led me to telling good stories in video, and that's what we try to do at Kessler Productions.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. Josh,
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I'll save everybody some time. You can go ahead and just scan this QR code right here, and you can learn exactly what my platform at SalesReach does. My name's Josh Feedy. I'll just keep holding it. My name's Josh Feedy. I'm the CEO and founder of SalesReach. And what SalesReach is it's a place where you can contain all the information, the back and forth communications with your customers. It's a digital sales room. It helps clean up a clunky sales process. Most buyers actually say no because of buyer confusion, and it's salespeople that are making them confused. So let's stop confusing people in our sales process. Let's organize a better journey for them. Let's help them get to an easy yes and work with us. Just scan that code or go to salesreach.io, learn some more. And if you ever want to talk, I can't wait to talk to you. But video is my jam. I can't wait to talk about sales and video today. So let's go.
Thanks, Josh. And Nick.
Hello, everybody. I'm Nicholas Kouzis. I'm the creative director at American Polywater, or just Polywater, as we're known in America, and internationally as well. We're a manufacturer of solutions for the electrical and telecommunications industries. We're just celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. Prior to Polywater, I was on the agency side as a creative director. Been working in the B2B space for over 15 years and worked with a lot of different manufacturing clients over my time. And Polywater is where I am at currently, and excited about our content marketing division, as well as the video content that we've been creating.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. Thank you, everyone. So a little bit of run of show today. We'll talk about why video, what are some of the advantages. We'll talk about best practices, how to get started, some of the tech stack or equipment recommendations for those looking to get going with video. And then we'll round it out with some ROI and kind of what are those key KPIs we're looking for to see if video is doing what it's supposed to. So we'll start with why video, and really what are the key advantages of using video as a sales and marketing tool. And go ahead, panel. Who wants to kick us off?
Well,
I'll jump
let's
in.
go with Nicholas. Yeah, boom.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick.
Well, I would say, in the past, we've used other channels to communicate, but video is really the medium of our time. It just really plays a major role in how we communicate today, especially post-pandemic. Moving pictures have been around for over 100 years, but now anybody, anywhere can really build their own little Hollywood. And the power of visual storytelling is probably, really a deeper subject that we don't have to dive into today. But I think just a lot of it's a way to engage audiences across the communication engagement spectrum. I mean, it really is a medium that brings to life the mundane or the boring, and it's really a tool that helps really drive behavior and make communication clear between manufacturers and audiences. Show versus tell.
The beauty of video is that there is no room for interpretation. You know if I'm joking when I say something in video. You know if I'm serious if I say something in video. You know if I'm sad. If I'm recording a video and you see a little teary eye, you know I'm sad when I say that, right? You don't always get that context out of written communication, number one. Number two, video makes people feel special because nobody likes recording videos. That's why. When you get a video from someone, you think, oh my gosh, this person did something that I'm more terrified of than anything because this person likes me that much. It makes people feel special. Number one. Number two. Number three, what I love most about video, from a sales perspective, how many times are there conversations about you in a room that you're not in? And if you record a powerful video for your main point of contact to present to the other decision makers, sometimes as many as 14 people right now, which is insane, right? People that you have never met, but you give them a fire video that they can put in front of those people, you just put yourself in a very favorable position in a room, right? So if those reasons don't make you want to use video in your customer facing efforts, then I got nothing more for you and you can leave right now. How about you, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with both of you guys. I think as a kid, we all loved show and tell. And I think there's something about video that people perk up to see what's coming next. What's the next frame? What's the next line? What's the next shot? And I think it's a way to engage with an audience that's different than black text on white paper. This is your story in real movement. And whether it's at a high quality level that's really super polished or it's done on your phone, I think either way, it's refreshing. If you scroll your feed right now of social media or LinkedIn, almost every other or every third is going to be some level of video content. People are using it a bit more. And I think to the both points that both Nicholas and Josh said, there's so much feeling that comes with video that you can't really convey in a PDF, a brochure. It's a whole different game.
Yeah, I mean, we totally agree. I think even just from a content diversification standpoint, people like to consume content in different ways and in different channels. So echoing similar messages in print and other mediums, it's a must do, I think, in today's environment. So what are some of the ways, as we kind of start to get into these best practices, what are some of the ways that manufacturers can use video to start to establish that thought leadership and authority in their industry that everyone's seeking to do?
I can go with two different ways if you guys want me to go first on this one.
Yeah, go for it, Josh.
Clearly, first way is going to be social selling, and I don't want to get too far into the social selling aspect of it because I think it's kind of played out, right? But I mean, obviously, social selling. Show that you're an expert in what you do. Get on social channels. Tell the world about what you do. It's as simple as that. That's as far as I'm going to go into that one. But what I would say in manufacturing, what I see from a lot of my customers in the manufacturing space is that they're utilizing a tool like mine because they are selling a complex situation at a high dollar amount. When you're selling a complex situation with a high dollar amount, there's going to be lots of people that need to chime in. And that means a lot of people need to understand why they're saying yes to you. I've seen some people that are really great at writing very powerful emails with bullet points and all kinds of great stuff. The problem is, as human beings, when we see a lot of words in front of us, what's the first thing we do? Nope, next, too busy for that, don't want to read it, right? Video is a great way to double down in those complex situations, to explain it to your audience in multiple ways, because the studies have shown some people prefer to learn from video. Some people prefer to find their own information and read it. Well, great. Thanks, studies, for confirming that both types are valuable. Okay, so both types are valuable. Let's deliver both types then. Let's explain it in written form. Let's explain it in a visual form. Let's explain it in video. Let's give our audience the opportunity to digest and understand and make a decision based on whatever their learning style is, right? So I just kind of feel like mirroring the learning style of your audience is one of the biggest reasons to use video in your efforts.
Thanks, Josh. Nick?
I agree with a lot of what Josh talked about in terms of how we serve up the content and the different types of content, and video being one of those. I don't, but I'm not sure video alone is the solution when you're thinking about thought leadership, establishing and creating authority. I think just like the website alone, your website is not the only solution. I think it goes back a step further to kind of like the classic branding, specifically that the art of positioning. And so I think any video strategy needs to be, if the goal is thought leadership, it needs to be based on a marketing strategy or a customer engagement strategy, and those should be based on your business strategy. So you have to do, I think, the foundational work of understanding who you are, like really who you are, not just who you think you are, or who your customers think you are. You have to dig to that level, and how your audiences perceive you. And then if you have built your business strategy on what unique problems you're solving for the world, then video is one way to bring that story to life in the broadest sense possible. I mean, but you also, the other thing is you also need a really good platform to get your videos out there. And when I say platform, I'm not referring to video channels like YouTube or Vimeo or whatever. When I say platform, I guess I'm thinking like, I don't know, let me give it kind of like a music analogy, I guess, because I used to play music back in the day. But I think video is kind of like the Fender Stratocaster. It doesn't play itself, and you need talent behind it to write the music and talent to play the guitar itself, to play the music. But then you also need the amplifier and you need the PA system, especially if you want to be heard in a loud, noisy environment. So I think video as the role in the context of thought leadership and planting your flag in some level of authority position, you need to start, I think, with who you are. If you've done your due diligence and done that foundational work, then video is just going to be, it'll be amplifying that.
So in that analogy, just to be clear, the Stratocaster is sales, correct? Because sales has to be the coolest part of that analogy. Strategy component, we need to dive into the strategy piece of this more, Rachel, and I want Joe to lead that because this is really Joe's wheelhouse. But I think when we're discussing strategy specifically, this is where a lot of times when we start talking about content production for people in a sales role, they see thought leaders, content creators on LinkedIn, and they're like, oh, I can start talking about it. I can start doing that. I'm just going to do that. And they sometimes make a name for themselves. The problem is it never really correlates with their actual, what they do in the company they work for. And I do think that there's a lot of opportunities there where marketing and sales should be working closely together, aligning around that brand. That's really Joe's wheelhouse. So Joe, you want to take that?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll jump right on that, but one of the thoughts that comes to mind as we're talking, me and my best friend, if you were to take a look at our text thread, it's typically, hey, check out this video. And I send a link to a video. It's on Instagram, it's on TikTok, it's something I saw on LinkedIn. I think that's the same for a lot of people where it's like they're moved by something. It could be humorous or it could be emotive, and they pass it along. Years ago, we did a spot for a commercial real estate firm. And at the end of every year, they gave out a 20 to 30 page PDF. It was their recap. And I was like, how many of you take this recap and you walk it across the hall or take it across the Skyway and hand the recap over to somebody else? Have you ever done that with that paper stapled together document that has a bunch of Arial font 10 with a couple pages of 16 bold, whatever it might be,
Yeah.
Hey, what if we took that content and put it in video form? It's possible that maybe somebody might hit that little arrow that says share. And I think that's the power of video. You have the ability to stretch your audience. So you may not have known about somebody that was, say, a thought leader in certain space, but maybe through the share of someone in your network, now someone in Portland is now seeing your content, or someone overseas is seeing it. And I think I've heard it even from those in like the keynote speaking industry. You're here because we saw your video. We're here because we saw your little trailer, your little clip. And you're speaking to our audience because what you said in that piece resonated with us. It wasn't about your write-up and how you have 3 kids and you like spending time hiking on the weekends in the North Woods. So I don't know if that answers or gives thought, Josh, to what you're discussing, but I think it comes back to just the power of video and the ability to kind of pass messaging along quickly. And it's kind of what culturally is being done already, sharing.
Yeah. So how do you tie in brand then? Or what are some best practices and recommendations as, our listeners and manufacturers are going out there and starting to create that video? And it may be in the individual scenario, Josh, like you just mentioned. What are some of how do they ensure that the content that they're creating ties back to that company and to brand messaging?
That's a really great question. And it's like this is a really hard one to answer, honestly. And I talk to people about this a lot. I think that when we're producing content, when we're creating content on channels like LinkedIn, the one thing that we all know is that the more salesy we get on those channels, the more backlash we have on those channels, right? It's a business platform. And I think when people start using a business platform like LinkedIn, they think, okay, cool, I should talk about business. But the second you talk about business, people are like, unfollow. I don't want to hear any more of that garbage. He's trying to sell me. He or she's trying to sell me. That's not fair. That's not why I'm here. Well, what are you here for then? Go to Instagram, right? But I think that that's the big challenge. At the same time, if you are, just because you're working somewhere doesn't mean that you need to be producing content about the place you're working all day long, right? But I do think that it's important to just realize the channel that you're on. You might be producing content that's more in line with your passions, your hobbies, your philosophies, whatever it might be. That's what people are going to be attracted to. People buy from people, not businesses. Nobody buys from businesses. They buy from people, right? And so, ultimately they need to know who you are and understand why they should like you. So go ahead and talk about some personal stuff. Absolutely. Every once in a while, though, you do have to sprinkle in something about what you do for a living because your bills need to be paid and your employer is expecting that you're meeting revenue, especially if you're in sales, right? So every once in a while, you got to sprinkle that in. When you sprinkle it in, my only word of caution to people is just don't take what marketing created and reshare it and be done with it. If you want to reshare what marketing made, that's great, but at least add your own unique message to why you're sharing that. Don't just say, I work for a great company, reshare. Okay, great. Because guess what? No one cares. No one cares. No one's going to read that. Marketing produced that. No one cares. But if the marketing team makes something and you can draw a parallel to it, right? Ryan, who's unfortunately not with us on this call, Ryan does a great job of this with what he does with the Pinky Swear Foundation. That is a perfect example of what I'm talking about here, right? I mean, Ryan, how he aligns with the Pinky Swear Foundation and the work that he does with them, he has a right to talk about that. And we know why he has a right to talk about that. And so he should talk about that. So why do you have a right to talk about what you're talking about? That's what we need to focus on, letting people know. This is why I have a right to talk about this. So that's all I'd say to that.
Yeah, and I think vulnerability and personality should lead front and center as well. I tend to wear the hat of a lot of comedy, and now with a bunch of kids in my household, I do some dad jokes for days, and I might write them out in text form in the content of the post I'm about to share with a video on it. And I'm not making this content for the guy or gal that's going to critique me, because I did something that maybe seems a little bit too childish, or I did something that seems a little too far-fetched or emotive, whatever it might be. I'm doing it to be true to me. And so when I was writing the other day something about being in Oklahoma, and then I ended it with, that was okay. The whole pun was Oklahoma. Okay. I don't care if you got the joke or not, but I'm trying to just be me. And I think there's a freedom that can come for people when they can, and I think quarantine world and COVID world really released that for a lot of people, where it was like, this is my home environment. This is my random house I've not updated for however long. This is my cat walking behind me. This is me. And there's become a bit more of acceptance around that, to even the thought of like DIY video. Does it always have to be highly produced? No, it doesn't. It needs to be highly vulnerable and highly relatable and highly personable. And at that level, then you can, to Josh's point, oh, I like that guy, I'm going to buy from that guy. I like that girl, I'm going to buy from that girl, because you're buying from them. So keeping that as a big part of whatever you're doing, vulnerability and being true to you. Now, don't try to replicate that to be something you aren't. If you're very data-driven and you like talking numbers, do that. If you're very comedic, do that. If you're all about music references and you bring them into do that. Whatever it might be, staying true to you is crucial, I think.
I would just jump in on both of those. I think those are great points. Josh, you brought up authority, right? Who has the authority? Do you have the authority? Or have you earned the right to talk about what you're talking about? And Joe, I mean, you're talking about authenticity, which is an important, incredible part about creating, especially one-to-one type of video content. And in a sales situation too, right? You want that personality to come across. The third thing I would throw in there, and it happens to be an A word, I would say would be awareness, and awareness of your audience. Another A word. Where are they at in the conversation, right? Where are they at in the conversation with your company, with your brand? And you need to create videos that connect with the audiences with where they're at in the conversation across the spectrum, from all the way from no awareness all the way to they currently work with you and they're a champion. So having a video strategy in place to create compelling video content in the manufacturing sector, I think requires not just authority, not just awareness, but I think and authenticity, but I think it requires that awareness of where your customers are at in their conversation with your company. You need to create something that inspires them or impresses them if they don't know who you are, so that they'll take note in their busy day to learn more about you. If they need to learn more about your product or what you do, create a video that instructs them, that guides them through how to use your product or service. So I think, again, just back to that show versus tell and all of those and best practices, I would say I would loop them all in there: authority, authenticity, and awareness of audience.
Okay.
Awesome.
I want to jump in quick, Rachel, on one thing that I think we should discuss here.
Uh-oh. This sounds serious.
I know.
I told you sometimes Josh goes rogue, right? This is why Ryan invites Josh, because it's like, oh, what's he gonna say? What's he gonna say, right?
Oh boy.
No. But let's talk about this, because this is for real. There's a lot of people that are gonna watch this in the replay that are gonna sit back and go, there's no way. Like, I hate video. I hate being on video. And I think that the important thing that needs to be discussed here is that we all bring unique skill sets to the table in an organization. Everyone does. Just because you personally aren't good at video doesn't mean that video shouldn't be part of your personal strategy in communicating with the people you're talking to. And I don't want that message to get lost in this, because I talk to people all the time that are like, I'm not good on video, so I'm not going to use video in any of my communications. And I'm like, is there no one else in your office that could lend an assist to you and help you bring that message forward in video? Don't be good on video. That's fine. And actually, I'm a big fan of acknowledging your own weaknesses. If you're bad on video and you've practiced and practiced and practiced and you're still bad at video, guess what? You're probably just going to keep being bad at video, because that's the reality. Like, there are some people that just totally uncomfortable, gives them the creeps. They're never going to be great on video. And it's fine. Just get out of your own way and focus on the parts that you are good at. Nicholas, come on.
Put it down.
Right? Focus on the parts you are good at, though. Bring those skills to the table and align with other people in your organization that can help you to use it. Because what we know is that the receiving party, that's who you should be focusing on more. You shouldn't be focusing on your own insecurities in your customer-facing efforts. You should be focusing on your customers' needs in your customer-facing efforts. And if we acknowledge that video is a way that a very high percentage of people like to learn, the stats are out there. The studies are out there. It's not just a B2C thing. It's a B2B thing. It's a school kids thing. It's an everything thing. Everybody likes and prefers to learn from video. So we have to deliver video. So focus on the things you are good at. Bring someone else to the table. Use video, right? But the reason I say this is if you do find that video's just not your jam, then don't. Then just don't. I've reviewed videos. Many videos from people that are like, I don't like doing this, but I keep doing it because you keep telling me to do it. And I'm like, all right, well, cool. We're like 50 in, and it's not happening, right? And put yourself in the receiving end on this video. Would you watch this for more than 5 seconds? No? Okay. Then we need to figure out a different strategy here, right? And it's okay to acknowledge that. It is. Just wanted to call that out.
No, I I love that, and I think you have a really valid point. So, along those lines, I mean, what I was going to ask about common mistakes. Maybe one of the mistakes: don't keep doing video if you're not good at doing video. know when to pull in reinforcements. But what are some of those other common mistakes or pitfalls that we see and that you listeners should avoid?
Yeah, I think video is to be seen as a long race, and you don't have to say everything in the sprint. I had a call with a client today. We're talking over one of the final deliverables, and it was like, do we add more dialogue here from our founder, or do we cut it? And we went on the side of cutting it. I was like, maybe use some of the words that you're having in this video in the body of your email when you're including a link to this video, if you really need to say that. Do we really need to push the 2-minute mark? Do we really need to push the 90-second mark? So I think sometimes a mistake is we've got to say everything in this one video, and we've got to get it all out there. Sometimes we'll take a piece and cut it into 12 different pieces, and it's a 90-second video that uses, one soundbite for 13 seconds, and you've got a pre-roll ad right there. Use it again later and play the 90-second piece, sure, but don't feel like you have to pack every message in that one video. It's a part of the process. It's a part of releasing content. So that's one that comes to mind. Maybe I'll have more as you guys interject, but that's just a thought.
Yeah, man, let's just keep going. We could go on this all day. Let's just do one at a time and then just keep going. Perfection is the enemy.
Sure.
Perfection is the enemy. I talk to people about this all the time. Now, in Joe's world, perfection is the expectation. In my world, perfection is the enemy, right? Because in my world, speed wins, right? And we always need to remind ourselves, especially when we're talking about sales communications videos or customer success or customer support videos, active customer videos, right? Outside of the marketing world, speed wins. They just want answers. They want it to be simple. And nobody cares about the quality of the video or how many ums and ahs you said as you do. They just don't care. They just want the answers to their questions. So don't let perfection stop you from just getting it done.
I'd throw out creating video without any prior experience and thinking that you don't need help to get started. Yes. I think this is one that I've seen people jump in and say, oh, well, I've been given permission to create video, so I'm going to create video. That's good. It's actually a good thing, but know that you do need a helper. Everybody needs a helper. Everybody needs someone they need to go to. You need some sort of advisor that's got that skill set, whether it's from a technical standpoint, from a creative standpoint, from a market knowledge standpoint. You need that. Was that a doorbell? Somebody
Sounds
here?
Like it. I feel like
We
Mr.
have a
Rogers
special
or
guest?
something.
No,
Well,
guys,
hey, kids.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
The packages.
I don't know if I said. Did I say the word of the day or something?
Yeah, right. The couch is
You're a
like,
winner.
That was the tip of the day. The day. Know when to ask for an advisor. That was the winning tip.
The advisor one is huge, Nicholas. And one thing that I talk to a lot of people, again, in the sales world about, we have always done role playing in the sales world, role playing on cold calls. Why is there no role playing on videos in the sales world? I never see anyone talking about this. I encourage people to do this all the time, though, because you know who's going to be honest with you? The sales rep sitting next to you, right? So make some videos and send those videos to that person as well, right? And be like, listen, Nicholas, this is the video that I'm thinking of starting to send out during my cold outreach or during my first meeting follow-up or whatever. What do you think of that when I do that, right? What do you think of that video specifically? Can you nitpick it a little bit for me? Because that's where you're going to find the really important things. That's where you're going to have an audience where they're like, hey, I get it, man. Like, I'm doing this with you all day and it stinks. Here's the parts that I would pick out.
Josh, I'm going to add to that just because I know that's one of those things. I'm going to add to that. But no, seriously, this is about collaboration. Video is a collaborative process. Mm-hmm. In my role, we don't create video in a vacuum. I have to work with the sales reps. I've got to work with the sales team, but I also have to work with the technical team because our products, our services have a very technical component. So our core team for creating any video content consists of one person who sits in the technical seat, one person that sits in the customer seat, which is usually a salesperson, and the other person is the creative seat. That's the one I sit in. And so together we create the whatever that's going to be, from strategic framework to execution, and we go through the entire process. And we work with like Kessler Productions, for example. We haven't worked together, but I'm using Joe as part of this scenario. We pull in Joe and say, hey, we need, depending on the video situation, we need a Joe, or we need a Josh. We need to add to the team depending on the video, or it's just the three of us and we create it in-house. So it just really depends on what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish. If it's a big brand video where we've got to have global awareness, it's got to be top notch. It's got to be tier one. So we do need a bigger team. So it communicates to all audiences. If it's something that is going to be used by the sales team or by the sales force, then it's going to be more personable, and it's going to have a smaller team, and it's going to have a smaller production value, right?
Yeah. With collaboration,
Yeah.
another great tip. One thing that you can control, that anyone can control, is a favorable camera angle and being in the right environment, the right room, right? Having the right lighting, being around the right natural light source. And so in line with being collaborative, use your team to help you find that, right? If you're working out of the home office and maybe you're using your laptop, carry that laptop around the house into the areas where you could work, where you could set up shop, right? And try to find an environment that you can recreate that does look good, because it does help a lot, right? And it's one thing that anyone can control.
Yeah. Two little
love
things
that.
I'll throw in there, if that's
Oh,
okay.
Of course.
So we spend the most amount of time before and after a shoot in our world. So you shouldn't consider like, let's just hit record and let's go do it. The amount of time that you put in on the messaging is key on the front end. And then the amount of time that you spend editing should also be, at least in our world, a lot of invested quality time. There are some that can just put up their camera or their iPhone and just hit record and just go and just say, that's great. Those are great. But I would say don't skimp on the messaging. That's key. And then the second thing is don't give up too soon. Like some people try video for a couple of weeks, a couple of months and say, it's just not working. When COVID all happened, we were headed to somewhere for spring break and that got canceled. It was me and my two older daughters at home pretty much just trying to figure out what to do. I grabbed my phone and we created this little series called Board Games. Instead of being home, being bored, do something stupid together. And it was all shot on my phone. It was 52 straight days of content that was out there. And the first few days, it was like, oh, that was cute. That was nice. And by like the 30th day, the amount of private messages that I was receiving on the platforms I was posting it, or the opportunities to be involved in something like this, to speak about what's life like working from home, but keeping the fun in the family, whatever those random things were. By the 52nd video, I was probably quite exhausted trying to put out that much content on a daily basis. But I would say the momentum finally started to pick up. And those that put out a video once a week and give it till, we started in January, it's March 1, it didn't do much, You have no clue necessarily, unless you're really tracking the data, who might be watching your content on the social channels. And they might see something week 6 and you thought of quitting on week 4. So I would say, like, yes, to Josh's point, if you're not good, don't do it. Cool, I get it. Or find someone that can help you, to some of the other points that I heard here. But don't give up on it so fast. You're like, oh, we tried that and it didn't work. Longevity you might not know who's following you or watching you. And that could be to your advantage to keep going. So just extra thought.
That's a great point. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say there is a lot of forcing yourself to keep going with this, right? I always tell people your first 20 videos are the garbage videos. So you do have to keep pushing yourself through it. And then beyond that, you have to keep in mind the medium that you're sharing those videos. You might hear some things back that really make you never want to do it again. I don't know what it is, but even on channels like LinkedIn, where somebody's name is disclosed and where they work is disclosed and the state they live in, they still feel the need to poke fun at people sometimes when they're making a video. And they do it in a public way. The DMs are the most brutal. The most brutal messages that I've ever received are over DMs, where they are hiding, but they're only hiding from other people. Yeah. But they'll say weird things and you'll be like, oh, wow, is that person right? And sometimes it's about the delivery of your message. Sometimes it's just disagreeing with the message that you had entirely. And sometimes it's just plain mean. Sometimes it's just like, hey, your left nostril is bigger than your right nostril and you look stupid on video. And then I'm like, oh my God, my left nostril is bigger than my right nostril. This is ridiculous. I'm never making a video again. Right? But that's not what matters when you're doing this stuff. And so there will be a lot of things creeping in, externally and internally in your own head, where you're watching this stuff and saying, I shouldn't do this. But you do have to keep pushing yourself to find out if this is even a communication stream that you can be successful with.
So as we start to think about the types of videos we're putting out, the messages that we're saying, do you have some tips about how manufacturers can tailor content or tailor kind of their core messaging or tailor their call to action to the different points in the buyer's journey to where they're at from lead through to conversion?
I'm going to let you go.
Yeah, I mean, so we produce a pretty decent amount of high quality content. And I think that there's a space for that for any company that's got something to say or sell. When you find your company by Googling their name, or you've got the website and you look them up, pretty quickly you're going to get an impression when you get to their homepage what their company's about. You might see it through text, you might see it through picture, and you may see it through a moving banner. And I think that video should be a crucial part in brand awareness, piquing curiosity, staying visually competitive, and sort of like visual pride for your company. Like, this is us. This is who we are. This is what we do. And I think some of those pieces of content could sit front and center at that highly credible style. Along with that should be a strategy or an approach or a calendar rollout of content that, like probably what Josh would probably be talking about a bit more, where it doesn't have to be so high polished, but you're kind of getting people's feet in the door by being like, oh, wow, that's proving credibility right there. Oh, they look like they do legit stuff. Video is about perception. You see the guy in the window of a car and his eyes look weird and you think something's weird about that guy. Next scene, it's like he's robbing the bank. Oh, I knew something was weird about that guy. The same with video. It's like you have a perception about that brand or that business, and video helps do that. So I would say on the high end type of stuff that we're producing and doing, credibility, online presence, brand awareness, those are key parts. But after that, the DIY world, or I got a camera that I use, or I shoot on my iPad even, whatever, that can be peppered in just as much.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, I would. Oh, go ahead.
No. Nicholas, go.
Well, I was just going to mention that I think for global audiences, where if you work at a company, if you're a manufacturer you have global audiences, there's different languages, that can be a challenge, especially when you're trying to really maximize and optimize your budget to create video. It's really helpful up front to kind of know where you're going to be releasing these videos. What programs are they going to be part of? Where are they going to sit? What's the shelf life? So I think it puts an emphasis on really understanding those audiences and really understanding where they're coming from, so that you can craft that into your process up front. Like I think Joe mentioned earlier, don't skimp on the front end of your process in development. I think that's really where tailoring the content for those different stages it plays well, is in the planning. I've had situations where people ask, up front, how long is it going to take to make a video? And I said, well, what are we making the video for? Because that's really what matters. It's not necessarily, how long does it take? I mean, how long does it take to build a house? How long does it take to build a car?
Yeah.
I mean, how long does it take to build anything, right? You got to put that in some sort of context, and the context is the buyer. The context is the audience. Where are they at? Where are they at in the conversation? And where does it need to be, right? And communicating to different cultures and audiences, I think, for global companies, global manufacturers, that's an important upfront part of the process, and you need to factor that into your timeline as well.
So I'm going to bring out my favorite friend, the whiteboard. We're talking about sales and marketing using video,
It's
right? Is this still backwards? Why is this showing up backwards? That's driving me nuts.
I
Read
love
it-
how you flipped it around too. Like,
Read it in reverse,
Yeah.
everybody.
If I turn around, I might be able to see it. There it is.
Read it in reverse. So what I think is interesting though is, so we're talking about marketing, right? Like right
Right.
now with, and
Yeah.
here, I'm going to do this. There, watch this. There we go.
boom.
Sales and marketing. Boom.
There it
Also,
is.
here you go, Don. Now you can scan it. There you go, buddy. Now you can scan it. Now it's not reversed from the comment earlier. Okay. So now it'll work. All right.
Got
Touche.
it.
Anyway, listen, on the marketing side, you're talking about customer journey. Okay. We know that the stats are out there on what buyers' desires are in buying. It's amazing how much that's changed in the last 5 years. 7 years ago, when I started building my product, it was based off of understandings of the buyer's journey that we wanted to try to meet. Within just 5 years, the buyer's preferences changed even more. I mean, we've never seen anything like this before, like this quickly, this rapidly. Without the pandemic, it would have never happened this way, but the expectations are crazy. And basically, I'll summarize it for you. Buyers don't want to talk to you. They don't want to talk to you. They just don't. They want to do everything on their own right now. And so when we're talking about marketing videos, having a cadence where it's the if, then this sort of strategy of, okay, they went to this page, so our next follow-up should be this. And is a video on it? Great. And then if they watch that video, then our next follow-up should be this. And based on the things they did on our website, our follow-up sheet, that's great. That's marketing. But let's talk about sales now.
Yeah.
Because sales should be looking at it the exact same way. Sales should be absolutely looking at it and saying, what is the buyer doing on their own without me, and where can I inject myself and bring some relevance and bring some education? Because what I've been saying for years now is that we need to stop calling ourselves salespeople. Number one, we need to stop calling ourselves salespeople because it's a dirty word at this point. Salespeople are trusted less than lawyers, believe it or not. And if there's any lawyers on the call, I'm sorry, but that's a fact, okay? Salespeople are trusted less. So I don't call myself a salesperson. I call myself a guide. I try to guide people through their buying journey.
Sure.
If I acknowledge and understand that you don't want me to be a part of this, that you think you're smart enough to get yourself through this without me, and you only need me to get you that agreement in hand, right? Then I need to allow you that space to do that. But when I do inject myself, I need to do it in a non-salesy, helpful way. That's what we need to be focusing on. And salespeople can be using video at those touch points so powerfully, because in a video, you can do a screen record video and say, listen, Joe, I saw that you were on the website looking at X, Y, and Z. These are great resources. This leads me to believe that you are likely interested in either A or B. I wanted to make sure that you had some additional resources along those lines. So what I've done for you now is I've created this spreadsheet, whatever you're doing. Or, hey, I created a sales reach page and I put it on there. Product plug, but whatever it is, right? But you're going to be sending them that additional information, guiding them through their journey, giving it to them so that they can digest it in their own way, because again, they don't want to talk to you any more than they have to, right? But if you're the one that wins the relationship game, you're the one that wins the trust game, they know that you're going to deliver the things that they need when they need them. It is the same thing. And that's why the lines between sales and marketing over the last 5 years have become so blurred, because salespeople need those analytics and they need to respond quickly to those analytics. And where it's even more challenging than marketing is that they need to respond quickly, and it's to an individual audience, not a global audience in that response. So the personalization, we need to find ways to make that personalization portion of that process fast. That's the hardest part.
Yeah, thanks for that, Josh. I know we're starting to hit the time marker, but I want to give a couple tips for the audience. So if you can share, what are some tips for getting started, like from a tech stack perspective, whether it's, equipment, resources, tools, kind of give us your best recommendations there.
I mean, if I go first,
Joe.
it's going to be super self-serving, so I can't go first on this one.
Joe.
Yeah, I mean,
Joe,
start
bring
with
it
what
on.
you've got. You know, if all you have is a light and a phone, let's start there. The hardest part is starting, and I think people think it's got to be some big show, which is a opposite plug to what I do, because we do small projects, yes, but we do a lot of larger scale pieces. But you can just start with a phone, start with a light. There's light in front of me here, and you know, I don't have a fake light with the ring on it, but you can get those types of lights and things like that to light you up and illuminate you. The worst part is being dark. You know, you want to be seen. That's the connection part. Speak up, speak confidently. You know, that's a little bit different than just technical jargon, but it's a little bit odd. I used to do stand-up and keynote speaking, and the crowd would laugh or the crowd would clap. Then I transitioned to on-camera acting. Nobody can laugh because they're going to hear it in the microphone. It's dead silent. So when you're doing video at home and your wife's upstairs and she's like, "What were you talking about down there?" "I don't know, but it was good." Whatever I was saying, like, confidently speak and, you know, share that message. There's simple platforms on your phone that you could edit content in. There's other platforms that you could get on a laptop platform, even as basic as iMovie. You know, if you have a Mac-based software, drop your content right in there. You can chop it up. You can add text over it. It doesn't have to be overly polished. And even some of these platforms come with embedded options in there to add text right over top of your video. If you are trying to get into a bit more of a in-depth storytelling or a bit higher production value, kind of like what Nicholas was saying, sure, we could be a partner to help to some degree, where we would have additional lighting, or we would have multiple camera angles, or we want to fly a drone over our plant or through our plant, and we want to show the scale of our machinery and whatever it might be. Then you might not be able to execute that just on iPhone, and you need to align with a partner to kind of help do that. So some thoughts, but I don't know, Nick or Josh, if you've got other technical things that might be beneficial, throw them in.
So what I love about what Joe is saying is, yes, step one is just getting started. And yes, more than getting started is understanding whether or not you are someone that can be, that can keep it going. That's the main thing. So there's no reason to spend money on anything until you understand whether or not A, you can become good at this, and B, you're going to continue doing it. That's when you need to spend money, because following that, then we do need to start talking tech stack. We have to, right? Because Joe, the last thing I ever want someone to do is to send me a movie file in an email and expect me to actually open that. It's never in a million years going to happen if someone cold prospects me with a .mov file in my email that I have to download and watch. You are spam if you do that, and there's no way you're getting past it, right? So you are going to have to start talking about tools to deliver those things in a more business appropriate, acceptable way that IT is going to let through, right? And so you need to be looking at the video tools, and there's so many video tools on the market right now. Like, it would take me 10 years to even list them all, right? There's a lot of video tools on the market. Most of them have a free version that you can at least start playing with. What I would say is that if you're in a business role, depending on the organization you're at, just keep in mind that if you are going to sign up for something like that by yourself and start using it, depending on the organization, you might want to run it past leadership before you do. Because there might be some businesses that are like, no, we are too buttoned up, or everything that you would say is way too confidential. And in some manufacturing spaces, it could be that way too. So you got to be kind of careful about that. But then you can seek out platforms. Vidyard has a free version. SalesReach, my company, has a free version. You can start using those today. You can start sending videos to people. You can see if you can actually maintain that sort of strategy. And then that's a good place to go. That's what I would say there. Focus on how you're actually delivering those messages, though, and make sure it's a business appropriate way to do it.
I would underscore exactly what you guys said. The only thing I would probably add to it is, if you're, YouTube is like the second largest search engine, right, behind Google, right? So if you're not on YouTube with your videos, you're missing an opportunity. And with that, as we talked about the upfront process of creating a video, the planning part of it, the messaging part of it, the branding part of it, do you have an SEO strategy, search engine, right? Because videos are searchable. So that could be part of that conversation. Not to make it more complex, but something to consider. Like, your messaging should be considering your SEO, and that those messages should be included and publish them on a channel that does search, that has the analytics to search. And from a production standpoint, I think even YouTube has some editing functions as well. So you could do that if it's a real basic type video. So
after years of working with people in a sales capacity or customer success capacity, making videos for their customers, they're the two things that really stand out to me that get in people's ways. The first thing is, we've already discussed this, getting over how you look on camera. And I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do about the way you look. I just can't, right? So like, you have to either become comfortable with the way you look so that you can just get over the fears of seeing yourself or whatever. But the second part, this is the part that I can help you with, that Nicholas can help you with, that Joe can help you with, that Rachel and the team at Lake One can help you with. Most people don't do video because they hit record and they forget what they were going to say. They don't know what they're going to say. You wouldn't believe how many people hit record without a plan until it starts rolling, and then they're like, oh crap, here's where I'm supposed to be talking to my customer. Don't dismiss the power of giving yourself a guide to get through that. Most of the time when I'm speaking in rooms like this, it's with other salespeople, and all of us have stories about how we started our sales career in a cold calling center. And when you start on day one in a cold calling center, they hand you a 3-ring binder with your scripts in it. And you read those scripts all day long. You have the first 10 seconds in a script. You have your rebuttals to any question that any customer could possibly ask you on a script. You are flipping through this 3-ring binder all day long, reading scripts for the first month. And then after the first month, you got the binder memorized. It's the same thing with videos in sales. We say the exact same thing to every person that we talk to with minor changes all day long. So I promise that after 30 days of doing this, you don't need that script that you started with any longer, right? After the first 30 days, you're going, oh, that script is great. Now it's ingrained in my head. I'm saying it in my sleep. My spouse is kicking me because I'm talking in my sleep and literally cold prospecting them, right? So let's not do that, right? But that's where it goes, right? So just don't be afraid to give yourself some sort of map. Not everyone can just hit record and talk.
Thanks, everyone. I mean, I feel like we almost need a V2, a continuation, because there's so many more topics that we could have touched on. We didn't even broach AI or ROI, all these terms, but I know we are winding down on time. So I want to thank everybody for attending. A special thanks to all of our speakers. If you'd like to learn more about Lake One and our service offering for manufacturers, you can go to the Learn More QR code up in the corner. And thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it. This was awesome discussion.
Thanks for having me.
Roll camera.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, everybody.
See you guys.